Today we're diving into something really important, a feeling so many of us have but might not really have a name for. We are talking about closing the intimacy gap.
So let me ask you this. Do you ever look at your partner and feel like you're just roommates? You're living on these parallel tracks, life gets crazy busy, and that spark, well, it just feels like a distant memory. If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are definitely not alone.
So let's put a name to this feeling. Let's call it the modern intimacy gap. And look, this isn't just something in your head. Research actually shows it's a super real, super common challenge, especially for busy modern couples.
As a matter of fact, a study looked right at this and pinpointed these exact stressors for dual-income couples. You've got these work-family conflicts, right? Where the stress from your job just kind of bleeds into your home life. And then you have these couple-centered challenges, things like, not communicating well or having these totally mismatched expectations. It's really the perfect storm for feeling disconnected.
Okay, so we know the pressures are real. Science backs it up. The big question is, what do you do about it? How do we actually fight back and rebuild that connection? Well, the answer might actually surprise you. It all starts with changing how we think about intimacy in the first place.
And that brings us to a really crucial shift in our thinking. We have to start seeing intimacy as something way bigger, way richer, and honestly, way more accessible than just, sex.
Relationship science gives us this amazing, broader definition. Real intimacy is this multifaceted thing. It's about being engaged in each other's lives on all these different levels, intellectually, physically, and emotionally. It's about creating a total connection, the whole shebang.
Now, to make this something you can actually do, we can boil it all down to 3 core pillars. 3 things you can start building, like today.
First up, we've got the physical pillar. And hey, we are not just talking about the bedroom here. Think simpler. Think daily.
Then there's the intellectual pillar. This is all about that meeting of the minds, that genuine curiosity for how your partner's brain works. And finally, we have the emotional pillar. And this is the big one. It's about creating that safe space where you can share your inner worlds without any fear of judgment.
Okay, so let's dive into that first pillar and get into the science of touch. This is where you'll see how simple physical connections can literally transform your entire relationship.
So why does this work so well? Let's get into the science for a sec. This quote from Psychology Today nails it. The key player is a hormone called oxytocin. It's not just some nice, fluffy idea. There's a powerful biological reason that non-sexual touch is so important.
And this just illustrates the process perfectly. It's this amazing feedback loop. It starts with a simple touch. I'm talking a hug when you get home from work, holding hands. That small act releases the love hormone, oxytocin. That, in turn, actively lowers your stress hormone, cortisol, which makes you feel safer and more connected. And guess what? That feeling of safety makes everything else, both emotional and sexual intimacy, feel so much easier and more natural.
So we've covered the body. Now let's move to our second pillar, creating a meeting of minds through intellectual intimacy.
This right here is such a critical distinction to make. Intellectual intimacy is not about debating or proving that you're right. You gotta forget about winning. The real goal is just to get curious and explore how your partner sees the world.
I mean, just look at this comparison. A debate is all about opposition, right? The goal is to win. But intellectual intimacy, that's about partnership. The goal is to understand, to explore different points of view together. It completely shifts you from being on opposite sides to being on the exact same team, just exploring an idea.
So, how do you actually do this? Well, it's way simpler than you might think. Don't just ask, "How was your day?" Ask a real follow-up question. Instead of just announcing a decision you made, explain the why behind it. Talk about a podcast you both listen to. Heck, even silly would-you-rather questions can spark this exact kind of playful mental connection.
All right, that brings us to our final pillar, and, my favorite part, a practical toolkit you can start using right away to build that deep emotional connection.
Okay, first tool in the box. This is an exercise from relationship experts at BetterHelp, and it's called love mapping. It's all about rediscovering your partner's inner world, and you can literally do this tonight.
See, it's all about asking the right kind of questions, not about logistics and who's picking up what, but about their feelings, their memories, their needs. Simple questions, like this one here. What's a small thing I can do to make your day better? Can help you build this incredibly detailed map of your partner's inner life.
Okay, here's another really powerful tool for your kit. It's all about building empathy, and you do it by temporarily switching roles.
The idea is so simple, but it's so powerful. For just one day, switch a key responsibility. Maybe one of you always cooks dinner and the other always deals with the kids' schedules. Just trade places. And look, the goal isn't to do it perfectly. The goal is to get real, first-hand insight into the pressures and the stress your partner deals with every single day.
And that is how it all comes together, by intentionally working on these three pillars: the physical, the intellectual, and the emotional. You stop just being passive roommates. You become active partners, together, in closing that intimacy gap.
So, that leaves us with one final question to really think about. Let's forget about the grand gestures for a second. What is one small conversation, one simple question from our toolkit that you can use tonight to take that very first step?